Ageism is real. It really is. You're looking at being older and you're putting these resumes out. You don't hear things, when you do hear things, they're saying they're going in a different direction, and you know that the direction is they're going younger. You do start to feel very defeated, and you just don't know how to get your foot in the door. You've kind of forgotten how to do that interview, how to do that resume, how to make that impression. I joined Leap, and shortly after I got that job. If I didn't take a risk in joining Leap, I wouldn't be sitting at this desk today. I wouldn't be sitting in this role today if I wouldn't have done that. I just wouldn't be.
This is such an inspiring story. You'll hear Kirsten here. You'll hear her journey. She broke barriers like in a way that was so beautiful to see in such a fast time. Such, with despite economy, despite excuses, despite anything. Kirsten, she's a director of compliance now. Thank you for being here, Kirsten.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Ilana. It's a pleasure to be here.
I love it. I love
Very
it. So
excited.
tell me a little bit. So again, you're always a high achiever. You're always very driven. You're always a hard worker. Like that has not changed. But when you met us, there was a little bit of like, I fell off that horse of success. I want to get back on, right? So tell us a little bit what happened.
I had a few years ago, I had worked in a place where I had a very good job, but I had gotten to the point where I think I was just burnt out. I had been there for a long time, and I think the challenges for me had gone. And so I kind of got recruited away and I moved into another role. Unfortunately, that role ended up in a merger that kind of kicked out my position. And then I ended up in this third role where it was going along quite well. Into the second year, my role kind of changed, and it put me in a position that really wasn't quite a fit for me. And it kind of created a toxic environment, and not a toxic environment where it's like, oh, this is horrible for everybody to work in. It was a toxic environment for me because it wasn't a good fit. I couldn't perform in the way that I would normally perform. Like I said, I'm normally that high achiever, and when I can't, because it was a function that it wasn't me. It was things that I couldn't do. It was not what I do. I'm compliance. That's the person that I am. So with these other roles, it just didn't fit me, and therefore I wasn't performing well. And getting out of that situation made it, while it took away the toxicity, it also made me feel very much like I had failed. And also during that same time, I was going through a divorce. And so just having those two things coincide at the same time was very difficult. And I was at a very low point where I was always very confident. I think people could tell you that I could walk in a room and I was confident. And at this point, I knew my confidence was shot.
And that's
Putting
incredible.
resume.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I want to stop here for a second because what's interesting is sometimes to see these people who are so high achievers, they're already done a lot, but because of a series of events and things that were not quite a fit or things that didn't quite work out, suddenly fell off this like big downhill spiral, which is so hard to get up. Because I always talk about I've had the same, right? And so, and suddenly your confidence is shattered. There's imposter syndrome, like what if I can't do it? And in your case, you also wanted to move upwards, and now it's like, am I starting from scratch a little bit? So talk to us just a little bit, because a lot of people, when they're in this situation, they're losing hope a little bit.
Right. Because especially, looking at somebody my age, ageism is real. It really is. There's very much a truth to that. So you're looking at being older and you're putting these resumes out. And at the same time, when you're putting your resume together, trying not to reveal your age in any way. But of course, if you have to indicate at all, like what years you went to college. They're going to figure it out, so it's not that hard. And so you're putting resume out after resume, and you just start to get, you don't hear things, when you do hear things, they're saying they're going in a different direction, and that the direction is they're going younger. Exactly that's what it is because of the type of business that it was. And so that, so you do start to feel very defeated. And you just don't know how to get your foot in the door. You don't, and especially after so many years of having gainful employment, you've kind of forgotten how to do that interview, how to do that resume, how to make that impression. So yeah, it was very much a struggle to
Amazing.
really pump myself up and be
Right.
like, yeah, I'm going to be able to find a job,
Right.
here in a
But
couple
you
of
did a
months.
very, it was a hard move, right? Like you
Right,
decided to join us. I'm sure there
right,
was fear and doubt.
right,
We'll talk about that in a second
right,
because it's normal, right? And it's
right,
probably could be one of the scariest things you do. But
right,
what, right? But what helped you? And I want to first say, where are you now? Just a few months later, and then we'll
right.
talk about. So what happened?
What happened? I mean, after, I joined Leap, and shortly after I got that job that I wanted. I was able to go into an interview very confident, and I was able to say, I want this. This is what I want, and get it. And in the past, even in other jobs, I had never been able to go in and say, well, this is what I want, and have them say, okay, because they would say, this is what we're giving you. And I would have to say, okay. And
So you were in the driver's seat, and that
exactly.
actually drove the title, the bigger title. It drove the
Right.
pay, like it drove, you were in the driver's seat, which most people
Right.
don't go into.
Exactly. I mean, typically, I think you feel like you're going into an interview and you're just going to take what they're going to offer because you need the job. And I think that this really taught me that I didn't need to do that. Ultimately, I figured out I have value. I had been told for years that I didn't. I had been told for many years in multiple ways. Um, Personally, professionally, I'd been told that I did not have value. And in a very short period of time, I learned that I had a lot of value. And I heard that from people who really didn't know me. But that's what pumped me up. That was the big thing. That was the thing about joining Leap that made the difference, was being in with a group of people who were all going through the same things, and being able to tell me, yes, you have value, you mean something. You you can do this. You can do this, and you're going to get what you want. And that makes a world of difference.
It does.
And now I feel like I can really go out and take that next leap, whatever that's going to be.
And it's incredible to see that because one of the things that we share again, 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 the way you show up in Leap, is also the way you show up in life. People
Right.
don't show up in a different way. So the people that will go all in, they'll do the work, they'll be givers, people will love them, they'll be seen, like that's how you show up as a leader. That's how you show up to that interview. That's how you show up to work. And that's when we see it and we know, okay, they're going to crush life. And no matter what, this is just the beginning because there's going to be this incredible portfolio of things that they can do because again, you have an incredible mission. You love compliance, you love leadership, you want to inspire others, right? And we'll talk a little bit about these things, but now we know that these are the people that are just getting started, right? Like, oh my God, how
Right.
much is possible? But that is the confidence that brought you to show up in that interview and to
Right.
basically get
Just
your
knock it
worth.
out of the park. Yeah, yeah, I did. I got my worth. I finally felt like I got my worth. And even a person who for years made me feel like I didn't have any value, acknowledged that you finally got your worth, which was meant a lot to me after that. So it's made a huge difference in my life. And, to know that you're part of this forever going forward, and that you'll have that support, and to actually get to gain this huge network of people
And
is
cheerleaders. Yeah.
cheerleaders. And that's, yeah, it is, to be able to go and share your stories, and have people out there who from all different areas of industry and the world, actually. I mean, it's everywhere. And to just be able to cheer each other on is just amazing.
Amazing, Kirsten. So, and I want to emphasize that for a second, because for some people, even just moving to a director role is just this glass ceiling that they have no clue how to break. And you, not only that you were able to find a job despite economy, despite everything, despite moving from a toxic environment, despite the confidence, despite the divorce, you not only found a job, you found a leadership level job, right? And the beautiful thing is now, even ageism, right? It's going to feel less and less, because the more you're stepping into your superpowers, the more they need you because of your age and experience, not despite, right? So that's where
Exactly.
you also start creating that safety net. And, now
Right.
it's limited possibilities, right?
Right. Because I learned how to go in and not talk about my experience, but how to get them to understand why they needed me. And that was what was important. It's not why you need me. I needed them to know you need me because I'm going to give you these outcomes.
Right.
And that was what was more important than really pointing out what my experience was.
Exactly. It's not your
Because they,
resume, it's
right.
the
Yeah.
outcome.
Yeah. And they can look on my resume to see what my experience is. I need to tell them that you need me because I'm going to give you this outcome.
Incredible. And I love this story so, so much. And I hope people are listening and getting inspired, because again, sometimes when you're in the downhill spiral, it's really hard to know that somebody or something can get you out of that. So share with me for a second, because I know, especially when your back is against the wall, you've had a lot of things happening to you. Making this kind of an investment could be an extremely scary moment.
Mhm.
I remember for me, the first time I made that kind of an investment, I
Yeah.
freaked out at night.
Mhm.
Um, what got in your head, and why did you do this anyway? And then I want you to kind of reflect back to that moment. What do you want to tell yourself when you're in that situation?
Well, I will tell you that part of it was, I mean, I had, watched your webinar, and then I'd set up the meeting with you. And I think part of it was is that my first meeting with you, a complete stranger is telling me you have value. And I was like, you don't even know me, but you're willing to take that risk with me. And you were telling me that, you know what, because you were telling me that you I can tell just by listening to what you're telling me that you will go far. And I want to make that investment in you. And just having somebody say that to me made all the difference in the world. And that's the huge part, is that the coaches, you and the coaches, everybody in Leap, you've made an investment in everybody. And you take your time and you spend your time working with each one of us. And you do such a wonderful job with it. And you're there, you're just as much as the cheerleader as all of our peers within the groups. And it really made a difference for me. That was really what I needed at that very moment. And I think it's going to be different for every single person. I think depending on where you are at in your career. Also, kind of one thing that spurred me on is that I knew that I needed to get to that safe place, for me, as far as personally, and I knew I wasn't going to get it if I didn't have a job. So I needed that. I needed something that was going to help boost me into to finding that role that I needed. And I think that just helped me take that chance.
Amazing. So what would you say to yourself at that moment, now
At
that
that
you kind of
moment,
went through this?
I would just say, do it. Just do it. I've always said, if you want me to, if you want me to jump out of the airplane, I'll do it. I'm the risk taker. I'm the compliance person who likes to take risks. So, which, which, is typically not the way it works. But that's another thing about me and compliance is that I believe in taking risk. And I think most compliance people should believe in taking risk because that really should be your role is how do you manage the risk? Not, no, we're not going to take risk. We
Right.
have to take risk. Your business can't be successful without it, as our lives can't be successful
Right.
without it, right? If I didn't take a risk in joining Lead, I wouldn't be sitting at this desk today. I wouldn't be sitting in this role today if I wouldn't have done that. I just wouldn't be.
Amazing. And I want to reflect that back. Again, it's the way you showed up from day one. You went all in. I could see
Mhm.
it. And that's what I sense, right? I see the go-getters, the people that, because everybody's going to talk the talk, but there's a certain level of people that will actually take action. And they're the people that can go so much higher. And for me, that was the thing that I was looking at. And the beautiful thing is, yes, it's one of those things that they feel like a risk at that moment and a really scary one. And
Mhm.
was the biggest return because, I know you found it faster. I know you didn't compromise. Not only that you didn't compromise, you actually pushed yourself further than you thought was possible. So
Mhm.
to me, it's like, oh my God. And I'm looking at you. And on the other hand, I know I love what you accomplished. And I think we all know that you're just starting. Like there's so much
Right.
more to Kirsten. And you're this ball of energy and knowledge and inspiration that is just was waiting to unleash themselves. Right. So
Right.
for me, that's what I see. And that's what I love about
Right.
people like you. Right.
Yeah, that was just my first leap. Like I said, I'm ready to take the next one. And I know there'll be many more after that. And it's like I said, you asked me what was one thing that I really wanted. And I said, I want that lake house, up north where my family is. And I visualize, I can see that now. I can see that and that I can see that happening. So I really, um, to me, I would have said, oh, that's just a dream. It's never going to happen. But no, I see it happening now. And I've actually been looking at like certain investment opportunities and things like that, actually investing in my own family for certain things. And actually, so I think it's really, again, like I said, I'm taking those risks that I wouldn't have taken before. Personally, I take them during in my job all day long because that was
Right.
my job. But personally now too, I'm taking more of those risks, and I that is making all the difference for me.
Love it. And you'll see it's going to have the best return on investment as well. Like it's amazing. It took me years or decades to realize that. So I'm just so happy for you, Kirsten.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for showing up. Thank you for inspiring so many women, so many people around you on leadership and everything else that you do.
Well, thank you. Thank you for actually for being part of my inspiration as well. And I appreciate everything that you've done for me as well as so many other people. And so thank you very much. And I thank you for the opportunity.
So good, Kirsten.